Hello, history fans. Peabody here. Today, Dale and I will take the Wayback Machine to the year 1979 AD.
Yes, I'm afraid there's no way out of it. Well, have I got something for you. I don't know if you heard about this. I don't think so. But back in around that time, I said 1979. I meant 1972. I'm sorry. 1972.
Or 1972.
Mark and I were in high school. Back then it was the Lawrence High School. And one day, at lunch, we decided we were going to walk to the library, which we did frequently. And so also across the street from the library was McNeil's Bakery, which has some awesome homemade jelly donuts. So we'd stop there as well. But on the way, there's a pond behind the Lawrence High School. That's what I'm going to call it from this point on. Whatever, I don't know what it's called today. Probably Google something or Microsoft something. But there's a pond in back of the school. I think it's Jenkins Pond. I haven't checked the name out yet. But I think that was it, Jenkins Pond, and it had a reputation for being a bottomless pond. Because back in, I think it was the late 1800s, a carriage and a couple of horses fell through the ice on that pond. And they were never recovered. So it has the reputation for being bottomless, I suppose, from that. But anyway, we stopped at the pond. And we never stopped at the pond before. But this one day we did. And of course we were standing at the shore, and we're on our way to the library. But we're standing at the shore, and we pick up some rocks and just start throwing them randomly into the pond. Then we decided to see who could throw the farthest. So we just kept picking up rocks and throwing them as far as we could toward the center. We did that for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And then we went on our way. Excuse me for a moment, but we're on our way to the dumpster. Well, okay, so we did that for a couple of minutes, went on our way. So we usually cut across the playground of the Mullen School, and there's a big, long set of concrete steps on the side of the school facing the pond. So we walk up those steps and get to the top, and suddenly we get ambushed by a classroom, or a couple of classrooms, of kids, maybe third graders, third or fourth graders, I think, and their teacher. And the teacher starts yelling at us, and the kids start yelling at us. I mean, we're standing face to face, you know. Whole classroom of kids and their teacher. You're the ones who have been killing swans in the pond, stoning the swans to death. You had to be there, but I'm telling you, there's nothing like a classroom full of slightly older than toddlers hating your guts. That's really an experience. Well, apparently someone had been killing the swans. There was a couple of swans' nests in the pond. I remember seeing those. But anyway, we tried to tell this teacher and her kids we were just throwing rocks, just simply throwing rocks randomly because that's what we do. We're kids. They didn't want it. They didn't believe it. Like I said, there's nothing like a bunch of kids yelling at you, calling you mean and I hate you, and the teacher did nothing to stop that. She didn't say, kids quiet down, blah, blah, blah. She just let them go. I'm talking about maybe 30 kids. So she says, well, I'm going to report this, and blah, 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 blah. She didn't ask for our names. We didn't offer them or anything. and we continued on our way. But this confrontation was longer than a couple of minutes. It was probably 3 or 4 minutes. And I don't remember anything after that. I was just so shocked, I don't remember the rest of the day. Anyway, I do remember a couple of days later, I remember it was a Friday, my mother was, she used to get the Falmouth Enterprise, and she read it, thoroughly, came out every couple of days, I guess, a couple of times a week. This was Friday's edition, and I get home from school, and she's sitting there with the paper, and she said, "You know anything about these kids killing swans at Jenkins Pond?" I said, "No, I didn't hear anything about that." And she said, "Well, some kids from high schoolers were killed the swans, or have been killing swans in that pond." And I said, "Well, I don't know anything about it." She said, "You don't know anybody? You haven't heard anything?" No. Anyway, so because it got into the paper, there's a story. I don't know how long it was. It was it was short, but it was on the second page, and I looked at it, and that was that. And I never told my mother what really happened because, well, knowing my mother, I'm going to get into trouble anyway. Just because I got into trouble for something I didn't do. Well, many years later, I was at the library, and I decided to look that article up on the microfilm reader that they have there. I know this is the highlights here in this this image are burnt. I'm trying to get some a little balance here between light and shadow, but it's not going to be easy. Okay, well, so I looked the article up, and there it was. It took me a while to find it. I couldn't remember exactly when it was, what month or what day, but I found the article, and I reread it, and it's wow, this was long after my mother had passed, and so they still have those archives, and you can get them online now. I do that once in a while. I go back and read some of the old Falmouth Enterprises from as far back as, oh boy, 1910, 1915, something like that. Boy, what a difference! And the writing, you should check that out sometime. The stories are just have an entirely different feel than they do today. You have to read it to experience it. Anyway, it's fun. So I'm outside right now, and I've got a bunch of people watching me behind me. So, well, you know what? That's going to be okay. Well, as long as it's not those kids from that classroom. There goes the plane. Well, there it went. Anyway, we never got that resolved. There just wasn't any way to do it that I could think of, and I still can't think of. But that was never resolved, and so there we were getting into trouble in the news even for something we didn't do. Just like kind of like the bike riding that night. Anyway, I had to tell you about that, and there's more to come